Nothing I did was working. The more I tried, the more out of control my eating became. Then, I did something I hadn't tried before. I became a savvy detective and figured things out. If I can do it, so can you. Find out more at solveyouroutofcontroleating.com.
Hi, welcome to Solve Your Out of Control Eating, where we solve real-life eating issues. My name is Michelle Holtzberger, and I'm a clinical social worker. And what I am not is a YouTube aficionado, and neither is my dear friend Vicky.
We certainly are not.
But what we are two women who have a heart for helping and trying to make a difference. So
Very well said, Michelle. I'm Victoria Todd. I'm a child and adult psychoanalyst. I have been helping individuals with all kinds of eating issues for many years. Prior to working with me, my patients suffered in silence and kept their eating a secret. I learned so much from these courageous individuals, and that's why Michelle and I are doing this. We want to share those insights with you. We want to give you the chance to learn from others.
we're here to teach you how to be like detectives who are searching for clues. And those clues are really feelings, hidden feelings that are getting in the way from being the best that you can be. So grab your detective cap, your magnifying glass, and your notebook, and even post in the comments, because today we're going to meet Hannah and see what she can teach us. You're invited to step into our virtual office and be like a fly on the wall and hear what Hannah has to say. And then at the end, stick around so you can hear our insights. So now, here's Hannah. I didn't want to come today. I didn't want to talk about any of this. Eating like a pig, being such a complete failure.
I can see the sadness in your eyes, Hannah.
I was an anxious mess the week before Christmas. I mean, almost to the point of panic attack. My hands are freezing cold. My heart is racing. I'm just so afraid I'm going to blow it. And then, of course, I did. I would lie in bed and I was trying to figure out how I was going to attend this family dinner and not eat like a complete glutton. I go over and over it in my head. I decided to take healthy side dishes to go along with the honey baked ham, like a salad and Brussels sprouts and a vegetable tray. And what did I eat? Cheesy potatoes, corn souffle, a mound of sweet potato casserole, like 3 servings of that. And then there were desserts, an entire table full. And I ate till I was totally stuffed.
You're focusing on the too much food, Hannah, and I wonder about what feelings were too much.
I don't think you really understand about how much I ate. And then on top of all that, I took a doggy bag home. I mean, I put it in the refrigerator and then I kept going back and back until I ate every last bite. I mean, we're not talking just like a ham sandwich, but like nut roll and Christmas cookies.
You look so troubled.
Well, the food is all troubling, but your question about like the feelings and what feelings were too much. Well, there's so many feelings. I mean, maybe it's the house. Maybe the house contains too many feelings. And the feelings cause me to eat and get out of control. You know, too much happened there, too many bad memories.
Can you say more?
Well, my dad, I mean, he was always distant and critical and never satisfied with my mom's cooking or cleaning. And mom was always trying to please him and always trying and failing. So she started drinking. She'd drink wine around 5 and was asleep on the couch by 8. And then there's the princess, my younger sister, who everyone adores.
Everyone?
Well, everyone but me, I guess. I mean, this year she brought her boyfriend, and the two were gushing all over each other while I was sat there without a date. Did I mention that she is like skinny as a rail? Well, she is. Long blonde hair, blue eyes, 10 perfect nails. I used to sit on the couch with my mousy hair and my squinty eyes watching my father play Barbie dolls with her.
Left out?
Always. Since my dad was unavailable emotionally, I would just hang out with my mom, but she was usually drunk. And she was already slurring her words when we had Christmas dinner. My sister and my father are glaring at her. But I totally understood. She uses wine like I use food.
For
For comfort, for distraction, emotional rescue, to forget the really sad stuff.
what about that, Hannah? The really sad stuff that you and your mom want to forget about?
Well, no one ever talks about it. I mean, when my older sister overdosed in the upstairs bathroom, everyone acts like nothing ever happened. I mean, we just eat and drink and pretend to be merry, but we're not. I mean, I do love them, but why is it so hard to be with the family you love? Okay, now comes the fun part where we get to be detectives and figure out what happened at that party. Things really went south for Hannah.
I know it, but we learned so much helpful information from that party. While I was listening to Hannah talk, I was jotting down some notes in order to get things organized for us. Now, when I'm in a therapy session, I do not take notes. I'm always listening for feelings. And this is what our listeners should be doing too, listening for feelings. Hannah supplied an abundance. But before we get to the feelings, I really think we better start with the family. And I think we should start with the father. She described him as critical and emotionally unavailable to her. But the most important thing that she said in relation to her father was that vignette where she's on the couch with her mousy brown hair and brown eyes, and she's watching him play with her sister, the sister that everybody adores and the sister that Hannah thinks of as perfect. So what does a little girl make of this? Does she look at this and think, you have to be pretty to be loved? You have to be pretty to get attention? Because you better believe she made something of it. All these years, she still remembers it.
Sure.
This is something that would need to be addressed in her therapy. Then the next person is the mother, who's also emotionally unavailable, totally focused on the dad and her wine. I felt that the mother's actions were almost childlike. Her need for approval, which I found to be irritating, but it enraged Hannah. And I have a theory about that. I think that Hannah acted the same way when she was little. I think she probably sought the mom and the dad's attention in this groveling kind of way, so that when she sees her mother doing it, it's such a painful reminder of her doing it. And it was unbearable to her. Remember, she wanted to scream, stop.
Right.
I think that's why. Then the next person is the younger sister. But before we even go on to the younger sister, these two parents are both emotionally unavailable. Who's nurturing Hannah in this household?
Well, and it's no wonder that she couldn't manage her eating because she gets in that situation. She's overwhelmed with all these feelings from everyone. And even though she tried as hard as she could to plan ahead and make the right choices, she just got in this toxic environment and all the old patterns came in and she just ate like crazy.
Exactly.
I mean, who could
Exactly.
blame her, right?
I know it. That's exactly what I was thinking. And then the next on my list is the younger sister, who everybody adores and who Hannah sees as Princess Perfect.
Right.
And we've talked about how Hannah compares herself to this sister. Well, we've talked about her sitting on the couch looking at the sister. In comparison, Hannah feels very inferior. Does anyone at all wonder why Hannah went completely off the rails with her eating when she's dealing with all of this?
Well, and she's not she doesn't have any insight about all these feelings. She just knows that everything doesn't feel good, but she's not really paying attention to all these individual things that you're saying.
Exactly. You know, it reminds me of when boys come into my office and they want to play Battleship, and torpedoes come from the left and torpedoes. I mean, Hannah was just being torpedoed right and left here.
Right. Yeah.
Then lastly, we find out about the older sister who OD'd.
Right.
So here we have a family of 5, 3 of whom utilize substances to deal with their unbearable feelings. You know, you've got the mother who drinks, you've got Hannah who eats, you've got the older sister who used drugs. And who knows about this younger sister who's rail thin?
Right.
But that's significant that that many people in a family would have these kind of problems. And speaking of unbearable feelings, I wrote down what Hannah described or what Hannah mentioned during our session. First, she mentioned the anxiety, the panicking prior to the party, and I really feel it was panic attacks. Then she mentioned the unhappy childhood. And she very poignantly said, empty existence, which was just so sad. Then she mentioned the anger at mom, which we talked about earlier. Then she mentioned jealousy of the adorable younger sister who always gets male attention. First it was dad, now she's got a boyfriend, and Hannah's lonely and left out, both times. And then lastly, she mentioned sadness about her older sister's death. So she was just totally overwhelmed with all these old, painful feelings.
Right. Right. And I think, you know, all of us on some level can relate to at least part of this story. We've all been in some type of situation that's been uncomfortable. And so there's something to learn for everyone, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So if Hannah were my patient, I would be talking way in advance of this event. We're going to start talking about it in advance. And we're going to devise what I call a protection plan. The protection plan, I mean, the obvious thing is to limit your time at the party.
Right.
And my dad was such a master at this. When it came to unpleasant situations, my dad would say, oh, geez, I'd like to stay for a while, but I got to go home and give the dog its pill. He could he did this as long as I remember.
So he was very gracious about his exit, huh?
Yes, and the dog always needed a pill, and it was probably a vitamin.
Well, I mean, I think leaving early is an option, especially in the beginning when Hannah is first getting used to all of this, right? But eventually, people can try other things other than leaving early to try and cope.
Exactly. And how you would prepare for it on a therapeutic level, like you would be talking about not only where you're going, where you're going to go, who's going to be there, but what feelings get stirred up with
Mhm.
these individuals. How do you feel when you're with your dad? How do you feel when you're with your mom, your sister? You would be talking about this way in advance, almost processing it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're trying to do is no surprises, no getting blindsided by these really big emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Prepare. Then, after the party's over, you have your protection plan. It's right here beside you in the car. And you start checking them off just like you're going through a recipe. First, when you do, is you listen to some calming music on the way home.
Or you call a friend.
Right. You call a supportive friend. You go visit a supportive friend. You go home, you have your hiking shoes right there by the door. You go for a walk.
And you're doing all of this so that you're not just going to come home and open the refrigerator or eat all the leftovers that you brought home, right? I mean, this is the
Exactly.
protection plan is mental, it's emotional, and it's physical, right?
Exactly.
That sounds like a great plan, Vicki. I think I think we gave a good summary of Hannah for today, and I think there's a little bit there for everybody. And there's going to be plenty more sessions like this to come. So we hope that you subscribe and hit the bell below and even link to our website for more information.